Hi, Peter Boolkah here and welcome to today's edition of the Transition Guide. And it's another year done. Now for some of you, you've had an amazing year. For many of you, it's been a tough year. In fact, guess what? It's probably been a tough 3 years when you take into consideration pandemic, lockdowns and all the disruption. In business, it hasn't been easy, but it doesn't mean it cannot be great. Because I know people out there that have had their best year ever. I know people out there that started a business in the middle of a pandemic. And actually, because they started their business with a new set of rules, without any legacy thinking, they've just absolutely smashed it over the last 2 to 3 years. And the question you've got to ask yourself is, what is it you need to do to smash it next year if you haven't already done so? And it got me really thinking about goals, ambitions and all those things, and why is it sometimes we lose our energy, lose our focus and succumb to the bullshit that surrounds us. When I'm talking about the bullshit, I'm talking about the media talking down the recession, saying, oh, it's going to be the worst recession in a generation, and that, can you imagine it? The cost of living crisis is going to cripple people. And you know what? There's an element of that is true. There is a cost of living crisis, and there are going to be changes in behaviour patterns. There's no doubt about that. But with this shit, there's fertiliser. And you've heard me say that a number of times. Why are we focusing on the shit? Why don't we focus on the fertiliser? And the fertiliser is our goals, aspirations and the opportunity that there is in the marketplace. And the reality is economies are not going to shrink to zero, which means at the end of the day there's going to be business out there. Yeah, a recession may wipe out 10 or 15% of the revenue and businesses out there, that's fine. But the economy will still be at 85% of its level, which means loads of business is being done. The question is, are you the one doing the business, or is it your competitor? Going into next year, is it as much of what you need to learn as well as what you need to unlearn? What legacy thinking do you need to shed in order to be successful next year? And I just finished reading David Goggins' second book, finished. Well, never finished, should we say. And what was interesting, I first came across Goggins 3.5 years ago. And I thought his first book, totally blew me away. When you talk about someone so ultra focused, so disciplined, it's unbelievable. The man's a machine. And when I read his second book, where I thought he was a machine in the first book, I now think he's just on a level above that. And his ability to go after his goals, no matter what, and never give up and always work towards achieving them, is bloody awesome. And we're at a very dangerous point in the economy where a lot of business owners out there, maybe you're one of them, you're tired. You're just knackered from all the hardness that you've had to really go through. And I won't say that's not been tough. I know many people that have had mental issues out of it, stress, they've had relationship breakups, perhaps they've also lost their business, it's not been easy. But there's a point where actually you've got to ask yourself, why did I get into this business in the first place? And am I going to give up? And that reminder from Goggins was, he doesn't give up. And he grinds it out daily. He works hard. When I mean work hard, his discipline is world class. He works at everything he needs to do. He grinds it out. If there's a setback, he works twice as hard. And I know that maybe I've been guilty, and I know many others have been, where perhaps when it's got tough, I didn't quite double down as hard as I should have, and I didn't step it up a gear. And like he says, it says people get lazy, and maybe that is true. And maybe what's also needed in 2023 is for us to be successful, we mustn't be lazy. Not take your foot off the gas, but put your foot further on it. If you have to double down, you have to double down. And do what it takes to make sure next year's a success. But I'm telling you something, if you don't do that and you don't go out and you make next year a success, somebody else in your industry, in your marketplace is going to. It won't be you. So it's not really, sort of probably the note I want to finish on is the fact that next year isn't going to be the year that people think it is. Stay away from the media. Acknowledge the fact that, okay, there is a recession on, but also acknowledge the fact that there's loads of opportunities, and change your business accordingly so that you can go after those opportunities and have the success you truly want. That's if you really want it. And that's something that you need to decide. But don't go into next year half-heartedly, just sort of saying, okay, do you know what, I'll ride this through. Eventually, when the marketplace gets easier, my life will get better, because there are chances that many of you won't make it through that process. Now, I hope you found this episode really interesting. If you have, please like it, because that always helps me out. Share it with others so that they can benefit, and subscribe so that you do not miss any future episodes. And remember, the world around us is changing. So failing to learn is learning to fail. Please stay safe, and I'll see you next year. Take care, everyone, and thank you for being part of my channel in 2022.